Hi, I'm Dr. Marc, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Hi guys, today we're joined by Sam Johnson, my fellow friend and voice teacher.
Hello.
Excited to have him on here as we talk about what makes Shawn Mendes and Camilla Cabello's Señorita so awesome. Here we go.
In character from moment one.
From moment one. Visually stunning right away.
So fierce.
So fierce, owning it. Live performance, but definitely playing to a camera.
Absolutely. I would want to make sure that she can get those runs without moving her jaw. Every single time that she did a fast run at the beginning, her jaw got so involved. It didn't sound that involved. I think that if I wasn't looking at her, that I wouldn't have really any issues with it. But that's just a thing that you want to get rid of as soon as you can. The necessity to move your jaw that much, because the jaw, when it starts moving like that, it starts engaging in weird ways, and that tension can feed into things that make it really difficult to sing sustainably. She's doing fine, but please don't imitate that.
Yeah, and something that'll help you with her is making sure that that jaw isn't just going down, but you're releasing it back. She's kind of jutting it forward a little bit, which is making it a little tight.
Exactly.
Also, the other thing that I'm seeing there a little bit that I think could make it even easier for her is, especially as she's going to those high notes, she's kind of compressed a little bit, and then it kind of locks in and is a little tense on top, and a little extra air on top too. She's not finding that nice balanced onset, which is okay. It gives us this kind of whiny, cool sound that is this a little bit of a sexy sound that some people can dive into. So is that a criticism? No, but if we're trying to help her find kind of a healthier home base for all her high notes, we'd want to balance that out. And I think straw exercises would be a great way to go about doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. She's using those different onsets to get the different sounds that she wants. And none of them are like that perfectly balanced sound that I really want, but it's like jumping right around the perfectly balanced sound that I want, where sometimes it's a little bit too compressed and sometimes it's a little bit under compressed, but it sounds like she still knows where it needs to be, and that it is kind of a conscious thing rather than like, this is hard, I can do it this way and then I can do it this other way. It just seems way too controlled for me to think that. Yeah,
I'm with you there, and I think that's actually a really important sign of an artist to an audience. For them to be able to accept these different sounds they're making is to show that this is a conscious decision because I'm not doing it in multiple different ways.
Exactly.
And doing it in a way that matches the music and the text. If you do that, the audience will accept it all over the place. If you just do it the same way every time, if it's not a healthy way, then it just starts sounding like a mistake.
Exactly.
If it sounds too consistent, it sounds too much like opera or music theater. So with pop, it really has its own unique, really difficult challenges.
Pop is hard to sing.
Yeah.
Pop is really hard. He's mixing up those textures as well with the vocal fry, the aspirate, overcompressed. What is compression?
Depends on who you're talking to and what they mean by the word compression. In generally, what we're talking about when we're talking about compression is we're talking about the vocal folds coming together first and that they're really adducting strongly so that the air builds up below. The more pressure that builds up below that, the more it kind of bulges those vocal folds and gets them kind of tight and kind of locks them in place a little bit. Makes it so they aren't as rigid and aren't as free to change their shape for the pitches. And so we kind of get this press sound. So the flip side of that is aspirate or breathy. And that means the air starts first, then the folds come together. So what we're talking about with this balanced onset is that the folds are coming together as the air is going through in this really balanced way where there isn't pressure building up below it, but it's also not breathy and air coming through it first.
Exactly.
So relaxed.
So he might not have like the vowel shape that I would ask for to find the most boring sound ever, right? So he's singing everything through this kind of smile, but he's not moving very much between the different vowels. So he's still able to find something that's balanced for him, that's just based around here. And so the end result is a little bit brighter. I just kind of prefer everything to be based around here usually, just because it seems to be a little bit easier to do different things with. How he's doing this, like it's working exceptionally well for the volume that he's singing at and in the range that he's singing at. Do you think that that will work as he goes higher still, if he keeps that sort of mouth shape?
I don't know. It's a good question. It's a little difficult to tell here because it's dark and there's a mic in front of his mouth. Yeah. Exactly what's going on. I think it will work. I think as he goes higher, it seems to me he's also kind of collapsed back here in the oropharynx, in this place that we like to keep open behind our back teeth. So it does create this more speech-like, brighter, more text-oriented sound.
It's much more common in pop music. Like, you can't really get away with that collapsing with opera, but for pop music, like, it's part of the sound a lot of times.
Yeah, so is that going to be part of it? Yeah. Is it going to give us any kind of really richness, fullness, or a tremendous amount of power behind it? No. But that's not the point in this moment, so, okay.
Exactly.
It felt like, oh, la, 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 yeah. I love it when you call me Señorita. I wish I could pretend I didn't need you.
They sound nice together.
They do sound really good together.
It's true, la, la, la. Ooh, I should be running.
She looks like she's in a music video. This is just a live music video.
But how interesting is it, right?
Very, yeah.
It makes what he's doing actually more potent, more powerful.
Ooh, I should be running. Ooh, you keep me coming. Locked in the hotel.
Nice.
There's just some things that never change. You say we're just friends, but friends don't know the way it tastes. La la la. 'Cause you know it's been a long time coming. Don't you let me fall. Oh, ooh, when you're listening, just me hooked on your tongue.
When she's singing, so that was all around the B, it sounds way higher to me than it actually is. Like, just the timbre that she gets around that is so thin. It's not like a thin timbre, it's a thin vocal fold coordination. There's just like not a ton of depth, but it sounds like really whiny. Usually I hear that start happening around the D sharp. So to me, I was like, oh, is that a D sharp? Just because I kind of hear it based on the tone. So that was really cool. Like, I think that if you use that sound around that first bridge, around the A and B, it'll make it a lot easier to keep going higher. The danger is, like, we're starting to add in a little bit of extra compression. If we add more and more compression as you go up, after you set up that kind of coordination, it'll start grabbing a little bit. But if you keep the same resistance, it'll work really, really well up at the top.
Yeah. So, a question for you.
Yes.
You're watching these people singing a duet, right? They sound really great together. They're balancing each other out really well. They're complementing. If you had two students who are trying to put a duet together and you're trying to help them to figure out what do we need to do, what do we need to think about to better coordinate our sound and mesh, what would you suggest as like the top one or two things they should be thinking about?
Well, the first thing that I have people do is just do it looking at each other, because there's this weird phenomenon where you're looking at each other, you start matching vowels a little bit differently. And that's like a big thing. If you put in a choir, you put one really strong singer next to two less strong singers, the two less strong singers will start sounding more like the strong singer. So that's the first thing I do, is just make sure that they're looking at each other while they're rehearsing. However, they're like blending, yes, but it's not like they're trying to match vowels. They both seem really confident in the sound that they're making. It's just that those sounds sound really good together. Where with a lot of times we have one line that might be a little bit more important, and then the other line is kind of trying to match that to make sure that the vowels aren't outrageously different. What would you do?
I think if I was to instinctually go for the first place, I would have them talk about the sound that they picture happening with this, so that it's clear in their mind what kind of sound they're wanting to make. Is it going to be a warmer, softer sound? Is there going to be more kind of this forward speech-like placement to it? Is it going to be brighter or darker? And just have them start exploring that sound or comparing different singers, so they're at least mentally picturing a similar sound. And then I would help them work towards that sound and helping them to adjust this oropharynx shape or their placement or whatever that happens to be, so that they're at least in the similar ballpark, so one isn't really dominating the other.
Another thing about the blend They're both using microphones. She's singing so much louder, I assume, based on the tone, and it could be like totally deceiving me because you are able to get these intense tones at lower volumes sometimes. It's just harder. So it sounds to me like she's probably singing quite a bit louder than he is. And so they're blending with microphones. So you have to practice in the same way that you're going to actually perform it. I would bet that they practiced with microphones rather than just like unamplified all the time. They know what it sounds like, because if both of them were in an unamplified, really active room, I almost guarantee he would start pushing a little bit more just to try to compensate with it. And so the microphone just takes away that need.
The hugest thing of this whole video is what Sam just said. And that's practice how you're going to perform.
Yeah.
In the same place with the same kind of equipment, or at least as close as you can.
Wearing the same shoes, just get it as close to the actual performance as you can. Steamy.
I love it when you call, Señorita. I wish I could pretend I didn't need you, but every touch is ooh la la la. It's true la la la. Ooh, I should be running. Ooh, you know I love it when you call, Señorita.
They do sound so good together.
They do. It's just so easy to hear and listen to. Getting more consistent as they're singing together.
As Shawn starts going to higher notes, I see something in his jaw kind of become a little bit more active, which, like, a lot of times when people go for those higher notes, they will, in pop music, engage their jaw a little bit on purpose, just because it changes the sound a little bit. Again, it's just a little notifier to me of like, let's watch that. Make sure that that doesn't become a huge issue as it goes on. But also, it's just easier to see with him because he has such a defined jaw. She sounds really freaking clear, though. I like her tone a lot.
She has a gorgeous sound. They both do. Love it.
And that time she did go up to that E flat, and it's kind of the same tone that she was doing on that B earlier. What are you noticing as he approaches the high notes? He's not like going super high, but what's working?
It seems like what's working is he's not adding in extraneous tension in his shoulders and his neck. He's keeping his body relatively loose. And I'm not seeing him grab or prep for that high note and really trying to push at it. I think that's what's helping him a lot. So if he were to come into my studio, which he's not, I would love to see him experiment with releasing that jaw and tongue a little bit more and see what that did to his sound. Like you're saying, people can purposely use that jaw. It gets us a specific sound and it can help people get certain notes in a certain way. But I'd like a little more depth and richness to his voice, especially in a song like this. Love the connection.
Yeah. That's the best part of it, is it's all coming from that emotional side.
Ooh, they're sharing the same mic.
They're so cute.
They are so cute. One of the coolest things, I have to work with students all the time on stage with romantic scenes, right? And one of the most frequent concerns is, I'm worried that the people out there are going to think we're really in love. We're really an item, right? I don't think they care one way or the other. It only serves them probably,
Yeah.
whether they are or aren't. The key here is, if you are them on stage, there is so little real romance in what looks romantic on stage. You're sweaty, your breath stinks, you're just kind of like spitting each other's face. You're like, it's just sweaty and disgusting. So really doing your work ahead of time and really thinking through it and practicing so it looks good makes a big difference. And focusing your mind on something that it can relate to and stay connected to, even when it is gross and disgusting, is huge. And watching them, obviously consummate performers, they've been performing a ton and they really sold it. I thought it was excellent.
I think you also get a lot of that romance in this from the space between them. Like, the times that they're together and they're that close, they only matter because for a lot of it, she was, 10, 15 feet away from him. And then they almost get to that place where they're about to kiss, and then it's away. And it's that tension. And the further that they're away from it, like, it just amplifies it as they get closer.
Cool. Anything else that you noticed on your mind that you think is what makes this performance awesome?
It's just really well rehearsed, but it's not rehearsed to the point that it sounds unnatural or looks really unnatural to me. So I just would love to know what they did to rehearse for it. Because how you practice is how you're going to perform. I'm just curious what they did, because whatever they did seemed to work really, really well.
Yeah. They got the consistency without losing the magic, which is always the trick. One of the things I think make them so awesome is the consistency of their sound. Even when they're kind of dodging around that middle balance place,
Yeah.
they're constantly circling around it, giving us a wide variety of kind of sounds and interests with maintaining enough consistency where it has that professional, easy, and lovely sound.
Yeah.
So Sam, how can they find you?
Go find me on YouTube at Sam Johnson, and find me on Instagram, and those are the places you can find me.
Awesome. Again, thanks so much for joining us. If you want a voice lesson, performance coaching, or want to work with me, or have me work with your group to help you sing easier, perform at a consistently higher level, book a time with me at mrperformingartsstudio.com, or you can also visit me at scaleabout.com, or just about any other way here on YouTube. If you type in Dr. Marc Reynolds in any kind of order, it should pull me up. So look forward
Reynolds,
to seeing you and
Dr.
working
Marc.
with you online.
Thank you.
Bye.